Is Pedro and Representative Jenkins, are they here? Sam, come on up, and Gerald, and I'd like to have a place up here for everybody, but the truth is, it's kind of tight. But I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I especially want to thank the two gentlemen who are joining me, Representative Sam Jenkins for his leadership in the House, and Senator Gerald Boudreaux for his leadership in the Senate. I was asked today on my radio program, Governor, are you glad that your vetoes weren't overridden? That's the silliest question I've ever heard. No governor ever wants to have a veto overridden. No governor wants to have a veto override session because the vetoes that I issued, I believed and believe today, were in the state's best interest. But we have a process here in Louisiana, and the Constitution calls for a veto override session automatically 40 days after the conclusion of the regular session, unless a majority of members in either the House or the Senate return their ballots saying otherwise. So this was part of the process, and that's what we went through, and I know many of you in the media put the term historic on it, and I guess it was. It was the first time since the current Constitution has been in place that this has happened. But at the end of the day, the legislature got it right. And I am immensely thankful for them, for each and every one of them, and they're here. But I want to start, too, by talking about the folks who decided that they wanted to have this session and they wanted to override my veto. They're still Louisianans. They're still legislators. They're still people that I intend to work with to move Louisiana forward over the next 2.5 years for the remainder of this term. We just had disagreements. And you know, all I can tell you is I'm going to do everything that I can to do what I've done since the very first day that I was your governor. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be the governor of the great state of Louisiana. And that is to work every single day to move our state forward and to put people first. And quite frankly, you don't put people first if you pursue bills to prohibit that which isn't happening, at risk of losing things that are critically important as we restart our economy, as we come out of this pandemic. We are a state that were hit by the double whammy. We're an oil and gas state, and we're a tourism state. Those are the two sectors of the economy that the pandemic hit the hardest. And we have yet to restart our tourism economy. And the first thing that we do should not be to forfeit the Final Four that we're going to have March of next year. And the NCAA made it very, very clear that they're going to look at states who enact these discriminatory laws as a basis for their decision as to who's going to host championships going forward. So we have some people fueled by passion, but not by reason, who that was okay with them. And look, they're good people. They mean well. But at the end of the day, I think we have to try to take a dispassionate, realistic look at these things and say, well, what is really going on in Louisiana on the one hand, and what is the likely cost on the other? And if you do that, it's not even close. The author of the bill, not a single proponent of the bill, could point to a single instance in the history of the state of Louisiana where the alleged unfair competitive advantage was conferred upon someone that they're trying to prevent. And so if there's not a problem to correct, why would you even take the slightest risk of harming your economy coming out of a pandemic? It makes no sense to me. And so the truth is that we shouldn't have done it. And that's the way it's going to be, because enough people, and by the way, a bipartisan group in the House of Representatives today, decided that we're not going to override my veto. And I am profoundly grateful for that. I am profoundly grateful. Now, the challenge that I have is that in all this time, we've been talking about whether we're going to veto, override my veto on this bill or that bill. We have not been talking about the great things that happened in the legislative session that ended last month. We haven't been going around telling people why this fall they need to vote for tax reform, because it's important for our state. We haven't been talking about how we finally increase funding for higher education so that their formula is going to be increased and they're going to have pay raises for their faculty. And we did the same thing for teachers and all these other wonderful things that we did. We've been here engaged in this back and forth. I hope we can leave here today, not just the people in this room, but all of us united on what we were able to accomplish in the regular session. Let's move forward and pass the tax reform measures. And then let's try to come back together. I promise you the people of Louisiana do not want to see in this capital what they see in the nation's capital every single day. We are better than that. They expect more of us. The other thing that we're not talking about, and I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes on it, is COVID. We're in our fourth surge, and it is real. And if you didn't see the news today, we added 5,388 cases in one day. That's the third highest total since this pandemic started. Now, if there was one cause that we ought to all get behind and make sure that we're pushing, it is to control this pandemic. It's to limit the people who are getting infected, going to the hospital, and dying. Unfortunately, that's been squeezed out of the conversation as well here in Louisiana. Well, I am putting it back front and center because as of right now, I want you to know that is the number one issue in the state of Louisiana, in the United States of America, and we have to come together no matter how we voted on these veto overrides this week. We've got to come together and do what we can to prevent what is happening. And the sad part is, as best we can tell on current data, 93, 94% of the cases are preventable because these are among unvaccinated people. We have to do better, and we have to come together in order to do better. And starting right here and right now, that is what we intend to do. So while I'm happy with the outcome of this session, I think it was best for Louisiana, I am not gloating because there's too much serious business to do. And so I want to thank, again, all of the legislators who are here. I want to thank Senator Boudreaux, Representative Jenkins, and I'll tell you that on Friday, I don't know exactly the time yet, we will have a press conference where we will deal with COVID in a lot more depth, but we'll be getting you that time pretty soon. Now we will take a few questions. Sam.
Governor, one of the House Republican leaders said one of the things this veto session did was make it more partisan, especially in the House. You got members, retreated to their party lines for the most part. Do you think that's true? And do you also think your relationship with lawmakers has been frayed by this session, especially on the Republican side?
I hope not. I didn't ask for this session. I'm telling you that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm as willing to work with anybody as I was earlier today or last week or last month or last year. As far as the partisanship, yeah, I mean, look, you don't need me to tell you that for the most part it was a partisan vote. Not entirely. I can say it was a tripartisan vote with some accuracy. We had Democrats, Independents, and I think one Republican today. But look, that doesn't have to be our future. we're only going to move into a future with strict partisanship if that's what we choose to do. That's not the choice that I'm making. I would rather the headlines going out from today be that Louisiana did what was right and best. And we rejected a play out of a national playbook that just had no place in Louisiana. That bill wasn't crafted for our state. I mean, go read it and look at the arguments that were made. None of that applies here. And I'm gonna go a little bit further. If on the one hand the bill is totally unnecessary and on another it's harmful, then it also makes it mean. It also makes it mean because it's directed at the most emotionally fragile children in the state of Louisiana who are not even trying to do that which the law would prohibit them from doing. We have to be better than that. We have to be better than that. Yes?
I know you said that you're going to have a press conference on Friday in regards to COVID, but today the mayor of New Orleans put in a mask advisory. Is there anything like that we can expect moving forward or any other restrictions you've put in place?
Yeah, what you can expect is I'll tell you Friday what to expect. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, the Republicans said that privately behind the scenes you were threatening legislators and that you were offering millions of dollars in projects and other maneuvers to get the votes you needed for this. So can you respond to that and talk about what method you used to sway legislators who voted with you?
I suspect I used all those that were at my disposal that previous governors have used and that they were using downstairs themselves. You're going to take politics out of politics? Now, I will tell you, very, very light on threats, not so light on promises. But that wasn't a choice that I made. I'm not here because I wanted to be here. This session didn't happen because I asked for it. And ask those Republicans who gave you that what was happening on their side today. Julie.
Will you be picking a new head of the Gaming Control Board soon? And is that person going to be Senator Ronnie Johns?
You will know that as soon as I release the announcement. I suspect it will be soon, and he is the leading candidate. Look, I want to thank you all for covering this. I hope you will come back on Friday because, like it or not, we are in our fourth surge. The numbers are not good. And I am very, very troubled. I actually lost my breath today when that daily update came to me. So we have some work to do. And I'm going to conclude not by talking about the legislative session, but by asking people, if you have not yet made the decision to be vaccinated, there's very little chance that what I say will influence you. But go talk to your doctor. Seek out a professional. Get good information, accurate information, because these are life-saving vaccines. And there are, unfortunately, no real good therapeutics after you get it and become very sick. This is our shot now. And know that 93, 94% of the people contracting COVID are unvaccinated. That should tell you all that you need to know. If we want to continue to move towards recovery and get there as soon as possible with the least loss of life and the least damage to our hospitals and capacity to deliver care, I mean, think about the healthcare workers for a second. They are exhausted, completely exhausted. And every day they go to work and it looks like a war zone. Every day. And when they leave work, it's like business as usual, right? And then the last thing I'm going to ask you to think about, people who are under 12 have no choice right now. They cannot be vaccinated. So we're going to protect our children. we have to protect our children. We have to protect ourselves and our families and our communities, but we have to have the people around them to be vaccinated. So please make the decision to do that. Please make the decision to get accurate, factual information about COVID and about the vaccines, and do that with your doctors. Look, thank all of you very much. I will see the press here on Friday, and I appreciate all the legislators who are here. God bless you, and thank you.